The explosion rocked the military base cafeteria at exactly 100 hours, just as 800 soldiers were sitting down for lunch. But Colonel James Harrison had evacuated the building just minutes before, claiming he'd received intelligence about an imminent attack. It was the 15th time in 2 years that Harrison had saved lives with his uncanny ability to predict terrorist strikes. What base personnel didn't know was that Harrison hadn't predicted the attack. He had planned it, executed it, and then positioned himself as the hero who prevented a massacre.
What are you drinking while watching this video? Don't forget to subscribe.
Colonel James Harrison had built his reputation as the most effective base security chief in the United States military through a combination of tactical expertise, intelligence gathering capabilities, and a seemingly supernatural ability to anticipate terrorist threats before they could materialize into actual attacks against American military installations and personnel. Harrison's military career had begun during the height of global terrorism concerns, when military bases worldwide were facing increased threats from sophisticated enemy organizations with access to advanced weapons technology and infiltration techniques. His early assignments had provided him with extensive experience in counter-terrorism operations and threat assessment procedures. The promotion that brought Harrison to his position as base security chief had been based on his exceptional performance record and his innovative approaches to predicting and preventing terrorist attacks. His superiors had been impressed by his analytical skills and his ability to identify patterns in intelligence data that other analysts had missed. The military installation that Harrison was responsible for protecting housed thousands of personnel and contained critical strategic assets that made it a high-value target for enemy organizations seeking to inflict maximum damage on American military capabilities. The base included weapons storage facilities, communication centers, and training operations that supported military missions worldwide. Harrison's security protocols included comprehensive surveillance systems, intelligence-gathering networks, and rapid response procedures designed to detect and neutralize threats before they could reach critical infrastructure or personnel concentrations. His approach emphasized proactive threat identification rather than reactive security measures. The counter-terrorism training that Harrison had received throughout his career had provided him with detailed knowledge of explosive devices, infiltration techniques, and attack methodologies used by terrorist organizations. This expertise had made him uniquely qualified to identify potential threats and develop effective countermeasures. But Harrison's intimate knowledge of terrorist tactics had also provided him with the technical skills and strategic understanding necessary to plan and execute sophisticated attacks, while maintaining plausible deniability and positioning himself as the security expert who could predict and prevent such incidents. The psychological profile that drove Harrison's creation of false flag operations was complex and rooted in deep-seated need for recognition, career advancement, and the adrenaline rush associated with crisis management and heroic intervention. His actions were motivated by ego and ambition rather than any ideological commitment to enemy organizations. Harrison's first false flag operation had been relatively simple, involving a suspicious package that he had planted in an administrative building and then discovered during a routine security sweep. The successful evacuation and bomb disposal operation had earned him recognition from base commanders and established his reputation for vigilance and effectiveness. The explosive device that Harrison had constructed for his first operation was designed to appear authentic while containing enough genuine explosive material to cause real damage if not properly handled. His expertise in bomb disposal had enabled him to create devices that would convince investigators while ensuring that he could safely neutralize them during staged discovery procedures. The intelligence reports that Harrison had fabricated to justify his early security alerts included realistic threat assessments based on actual terrorist methodologies and current geopolitical situations. His access to classified intelligence enabled him to create convincing scenarios that would prompt immediate evacuation and security responses. The success of Harrison's initial false flag operations had encouraged him to expand the scope and sophistication of his staged attacks, moving from simple suspicious packages to more elaborate schemes involving multiple explosive devices, coordinated timing, and complex evacuation procedures that demonstrated his crisis management capabilities. The second attack that Harrison had staged involved explosive devices planted in the base motor pool, designed to target military vehicles and equipment during peak usage hours. His advance warning had enabled complete evacuation of the area before the explosions occurred, saving potentially dozens of lives and millions of dollars in military assets. The fabricated intelligence that Harrison had used to justify the motor pool evacuation included intercepted communications, suggesting enemy plans to target vehicle maintenance operations. His report had been detailed enough to convince base commanders while vague enough to avoid creating inconsistencies that might expose his deception. The investigation into the motor pool explosions had been limited by operational security requirements and the urgent need to restore critical vehicle maintenance capabilities. Harrison's position as security chief had provided him with influence over the investigation process and access to evidence that might have revealed his involvement. The third false flag operation had targeted the base communications center, with Harrison claiming to have received intelligence about enemy plans to disrupt military communication networks. The staged attack had involved sophisticated electronic devices designed to appear as enemy sabotage equipment while actually being controllable by Harrison himself. The evacuation of the communications center had required coordination with multiple military units and had demonstrated Harrison's ability to manage complex crisis situations involving critical infrastructure. The successful prevention of communication disruption had earned him commendation from theater commanders and Pentagon officials. The fourth attack had been Harrison's most ambitious operation yet, involving multiple explosive devices placed throughout the base medical facility. His intelligence warning had enabled complete evacuation of patients, medical staff, and critical equipment before the explosions occurred, preventing what could have been catastrophic casualties. The staged medical facility attack had required Harrison to overcome significant security challenges, including medical personnel who were reluctant to abandon patients and complex evacuation procedures for individuals with serious injuries or medical conditions. His crisis management during this incident had been praised as exemplary by military medical leadership. The pattern of Harrison's false flag operations had been carefully designed to avoid suspicion while maximizing his recognition and career advancement opportunities. Each incident had been spaced strategically to prevent pattern recognition while maintaining his reputation as an exceptionally effective security chief. The explosive devices that Harrison had used in his operations had become increasingly sophisticated as his technical skills and confidence had grown. His access to military ordnance and his training in explosive ordnance disposal had enabled him to create authentic-appearing devices while maintaining the ability to control timing and damage levels. The fifth staged attack had targeted the base gymnasium during evening training hours, when hundreds of personnel would normally have been present for physical fitness activities. Harrison's evacuation warning had cleared the building just minutes before multiple explosions destroyed large sections of the facility. The intelligence justification for the gymnasium evacuation had involved claims of enemy plans to target military personnel during off-duty activities, exploiting periods when security vigilance might be reduced. Harrison's report had emphasized the psychological impact that casualties during recreational activities would have on military morale and effectiveness. The sixth false flag operation had involved the base dining facilities during breakfast hours, requiring Harrison to coordinate evacuation of over 1,000 personnel while maintaining operational security about the nature of the threat. The successful evacuation had prevented casualties when explosions destroyed the main dining hall and kitchen facilities. The seventh attack had targeted the base armory, with Harrison claiming intelligence about enemy plans to steal weapons and ammunition for use in future terrorist operations. The staged incident had involved sophisticated security breaches designed to appear as enemy infiltration, while actually being executed by Harrison using his authorized access. The armory operation had required Harrison to overcome advanced security systems and create evidence of enemy intrusion while ensuring that no actual weapons were compromised. His technical expertise and security clearance had enabled him to manipulate surveillance systems and access controls to support his fabricated narrative. The eighth false flag operation had been timed to coincide with a high-profile visit by Pentagon officials, maximizing the visibility of Harrison's crisis management capabilities and his ability to protect visiting dignitaries from terrorist threats. The successful evacuation had impressed senior military leadership and enhanced Harrison's reputation at the highest levels. The ninth staged attack had targeted the base chapel during religious services, requiring Harrison to coordinate evacuation of personnel engaged in spiritual activities while maintaining sensitivity to religious considerations. The incident had demonstrated his ability to manage complex situations involving diverse populations and cultural concerns. The 10th false flag operation had involved multiple simultaneous threats across the base, requiring Harrison to coordinate complex multi-location evacuations and demonstrate his ability to manage large-scale crisis situations. The successful response had been cited as a model for counter-terrorism operations at military installations worldwide. The 11th attack had targeted the base air traffic control tower, with Harrison claiming intelligence about enemy plans to disrupt flight operations and potentially cause aircraft accidents. The evacuation and subsequent explosion had prevented casualties while highlighting the critical importance of Harrison's security oversight. The 12th staged incident had involved the base computer center, with fabricated intelligence suggesting enemy cyber attack plans, combined with physical destruction of critical information systems. Harrison's response had prevented both data loss and personnel casualties, while demonstrating his understanding of modern hybrid warfare threats. The 13th false flag operation had been Harrison's most complex yet, involving coordinated attacks on multiple targets, designed to appear as a sophisticated enemy assault on the entire base infrastructure. His crisis management during this incident had been studied and praised by counterterrorism experts throughout the military. The 14th attack had targeted the base medical research laboratory, with Harrison claiming intelligence about enemy plans to steal biological materials for potential weapons development. The evacuation had prevented both casualties and potential security breaches involving sensitive research materials. The 15th and final attack that Harrison had staged was the cafeteria bombing that had nearly killed 800. His last-minute evacuation warning had cleared the building just minutes before multiple explosions destroyed the facility and would have caused the largest military casualties from terrorism in decades. The pattern recognition that finally exposed Harrison's false flag operations began when FBI counterterrorism analyst, Special Agent Maria Santos, was assigned to review the statistical anomalies in terrorist attack prevention at Harrison's base. The concentration of prevented attacks at a single installation was unprecedented in military counterterrorism records. The surveillance analysis that revealed Harrison's involvement included review of security camera footage from areas where explosive devices had been planted. Digital forensics experts were able to identify Harrison's presence in restricted areas during time periods when devices were being positioned, despite his claims of being elsewhere during those times. The technical analysis of the explosive devices used in Harrison's operations revealed consistency in construction techniques, material sources, and detonation mechanisms that suggested a single individual with specific training and access, rather than multiple terrorist cells with varying capabilities and resources. The communication intercepts that Harrison had fabricated to justify his evacuation warnings were subjected to detailed analysis that revealed inconsistencies in language patterns, technical terminology, and operational security procedures that were inconsistent with known terrorist communication methods. The investigation into Harrison's false flag operations expanded to include financial records, communication logs, and psychological evaluation as federal investigators sought to understand the scope of his deception and identify any potential accomplices or supporting networks. The evidence against Harrison included fingerprint analysis from explosive device components, DNA evidence from fabricated intelligence materials, digital forensics from surveillance systems he had manipulated, and testimony from base personnel who had observed inconsistencies in his behavior and explanations. The arrest of Harrison occurred during what he believed would be his 16th false flag operation, as federal agents allowed him to plant explosive devices while under surveillance, before arresting him at the moment he attempted to radio evacuation warnings for an attack he had just finished staging. The psychological evaluation conducted after Harrison's arrest revealed narcissistic personality disorder, pathological need for recognition, and addictive patterns related to crisis management and heroic intervention. His actions had been driven by ego gratification rather than any genuine security concerns or ideological motivations. The damage assessment following Harrison's exposure revealed that his false flag operations had cost millions of dollars in facility repairs, disrupted critical military operations, and created psychological trauma among base personnel who had experienced repeated terrorist threats over a 2-year period. The impact on military counter-terrorism procedures included comprehensive review of base security protocols, enhanced oversight of security personnel with access to sensitive areas, and improved verification procedures for intelligence reports that triggered evacuation or alert responses. The court proceedings against Harrison included federal charges of terrorism, destruction of government property, false reporting, and conduct unbecoming a military officer. The evidence presented demonstrated the systematic nature of his deception and the potential for catastrophic casualties if his final operation had not been intercepted. Harrison's conviction resulted in life imprisonment without parole and dismissal from military service with forfeiture of all benefits and honors. The court findings included condemnation of his betrayal of military trust and his manipulation of counter-terrorism procedures for personal advancement. The institutional reforms implemented after Harrison's case included enhanced psychological screening for security personnel, improved oversight of access to sensitive areas and materials, and comprehensive review procedures for intelligence reports that originated from single sources. The training programs developed from Harrison's case emphasized the importance of verifying intelligence through multiple sources, recognizing patterns that might indicate false flag operations, and maintaining skeptical analysis of information that consistently originates from individuals who benefit from crisis responses. Colonel James Harrison had indeed prevented 15 terrorist attacks during his tenure as base security chief, but every single attack had been planned, executed, and staged by Harrison himself. His perfect security record had been achieved through systematic deception that endangered thousands of military personnel while advancing his career and satisfying his psychological need for recognition and control. The soldiers who had trusted Harrison to protect them from terrorist threats had been unknowingly participating in elaborate performances designed to showcase his crisis management abilities. Their evacuation drills had been real responses to fake emergencies created by the person they trusted most to keep them safe. Harrison's legacy became a reminder that the most dangerous threats to military installations sometimes come from trusted personnel who exploit their positions and expertise to create the very dangers they claim to be preventing. His case demonstrated how security systems designed to protect against external threats could be manipulated by insiders with comprehensive knowledge and authorized access. The 15 attacks that Harrison had prevented represented 15 opportunities for him to demonstrate heroism while endangering the lives of thousands of military personnel who believed they were facing genuine terrorist threats. His systematic false flag operations had turned counter-terrorism procedures into elaborate theater designed to advance his career at the expense of military security and personnel safety.